perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Faith and Freedom. I'm Shemane.chat. First of all, I want to start out with a welcome to my new grandson, River. We're so happy that you're here. We love you already. And also congratulations to the proud parents, Rocco and Belle. Okay, now that you know what's going on in my world, this next segment is really going to hit home for me, and I think it will for you too. If you're a parent and you've ever been accused, targeted, or ignored, you're not alone. And in Texas, of all places, one school board decision may have cost a father his life. The case has sparked national outrage, and my first guest is demanding answers. Kelly John Walker is a senior writer, entrepreneur, and founder of Freedom Talk and co-founder of Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. Now he's sounding the alarm on school board corruption after a Texas father's tragic death. Kelly, welcome.
Shemane, great to be here, and congratulations on another grandchild. That's fantastic news.
Thank you. We feel blessed. So what happened, Kelly, in Temple, Texas, right down the road from me, and how did it lead to a father taking his own life?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, it's an all too common story, and this is at least the second parent we know of that's committed suicide due to being targeted. Back in 2021, October 4th of 2021, Merrick Garland issued a memo designating parents as so-called domestic terrorists. He allocated FBI resources under the Patriot Act, and indeed, parents were treated like terrorists, my own family included. And when you have the full weight of the government coming down on your head, believe me, it's not a pleasant thing. I completely understand the feelings his father had because I ended up in court. I ended up getting sentenced to 100 days in jail and $10,000 in fines for misdemeanor 3 trespassing, for sitting in an office meeting advocating for a father and his child who had been forced to wear a mask. So this goes way back, and you might say, well, the Biden administration's out of office. Well, unfortunately, that war continues, and the long shadow of this characterization, this false, just completely flagrantly fraudulent characterization of parents lives on, and some of the school districts, boards, still hold on to this idea. So parents, we've had several even recently that have gotten up. Jeremy down in Gainesville, Florida, was escorted out by the police until the district lawyer said, "Oh no, we better not do that." We've had a mother whose son was voted in class most likely to be a dictator, and he was called a Nazi-phile, and the teacher supported all of this. So unfortunately, this father down in Texas, the story that I've gotten, and I posted it on at Real Freedom Talk on my social media, the story is that he was recording a conversation with I believe it was either a board superintendent or a school superintendent. I believe it was the chair of the board. He let them know he was recording. He left for a few minutes to get something out of his car. And then the school board voted to have him convicted of a felony for recording them. And I don't know how it is that a school board can have that kind of power, but he was facing possible prison, felony charges for what he did. And unfortunately, he took his life. And his lawyer, who seems like a great gentleman, he's a veteran who only recently became a lawyer in order to help people. He said he was talking to his client, telling him, "Hey, don't worry, we'll take care of this. Is absolutely, they had no right to do this." There's this lawyer right there. Gave just a stirring speech to the board, just very, very cutting on them and accusing them of causing the death of a parent. So all of this is an outgrowth of what came from Biden's DOJ, and what Sam Sorbo and I, with Parents Demanding Justice Alliance, are fighting desperately to get President Trump's attention on. We've talked to Vince Haley, the domestic policy advisor. We've talked to Ed Martin. We've been to Washington, D.C. at least a couple of times on our own dime. None of this we're being paid for doing, but we've been sounding the alarm for some time that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of parents across the country who've been treated so egregiously. And so we put together a dossier which has over 60 parents on it and growing, of just the atrocious things that parents were put through, again, fraudulently. And Pam Bondi, to her credit, rescinded that memo, but nothing other than that's been done. and something needs to be done. So Sam and I have proposed, and we drafted an executive order, and we are asking for an October 4th ceremony to sign this executive order and a ceremony to honor these parents, because these parents are heroes. They're parents who've stood up to the Marxist indoctrination in our schools. In my case, it started with standing up to COVID regulations through CDC payments. These schools were imposing these things on kids, and it was driving them to suicide. The numbers are there. There's Representative Andy Biggs from Arizona. I lived in Arizona at the time. You can see all of these parents came for a July 15th press conference called Vindicating Parents. It was sponsored by Representative Andy Ogles. We have representatives of Moms for Liberty, Moms for America, a whole lot of other organizations there. Mom Army, Dad Army. There's Representative Ogles. He and his staff have worked very, very hard. Eli Crane has been one notable congressman who's really pushed, and his team has been in contact frequently with the White House saying, can we please, pay attention to this issue? Several people have offered to talk to President Trump, including John Solomon, Brian Glenn, Roger Stone was one of the most recent ones, and then Kimberly Fletcher, who is the founder of Moms for America, has offered to go to the White House and talk to them. Mike Lindell's in the White House right now. I know he's talked to President Trump's chief of staff. And so all of these people are going forward saying, look, something needs to be done. And yet Sam and I are still waiting for answers. We're still waiting for a response. And what we're suggesting is not only exoneration of these parents, but also restitution. And I'm not talking about some hazy concept of reparations. Restitution means that parents had their homes taken, their businesses destroyed. They have legal fees. There's one couple in Scottsdale, Arizona. The mom was actually a teacher who turned in another teacher for having mirrors on his floor so he could see up young girls' skirts. The school
You are
district supported the
kidding.
pedophile. No, I'm not even kidding, and I can't mention their names right now because they're in active litigation. But they had to mortgage their house. They're $450,000 in debt because she did the right thing. So not only did the school district support the pedophile, they doxed. Well, they gave the name of the teacher who had reported it, which you don't do that. You don't give the name of a whistleblower out there. And and then we have Chad in Pennsylvania who spoke at our July 15th press conference. He went home and he's facing retribution. He's a business lawyer and they're trying to disbar him. So and like Chad says, his wife, she can't handle the pressure anymore. So my
Right.
concern, and we feel it, we have days where and moments where we just feel hopeless, My concern is that some of these parents are saying, look, the federal government doesn't care about us. The administration doesn't care about us. We're out here, we're just the little people, they don't care. Like Pam Bondi will defend Elon Musk, but what about us? What about the parents? I think if Donald Trump knows what's really going on, I think he is going to be concerned about it. Sam Sobro calls him the parent in chief. I get the feeling sometimes that there are people around the president that try to sort through things and sift through things, and I get that. The president's very, very busy, but this issue should have been handled on day one. I mean, this is a massive crisis. We've really struggled. Several of us who are on this alliance, me, Sam Sorbo, Alex Newman, Seek Smith, Sharona Bishop, on it goes. We've got all the major parenting groups, and we're unified in one message, and that is that we have to honor and restore these parents. Recently, DOE said, well, this is a state issue. And so I wrote an article refuting that because all of it was orchestrated by the federal government, by the DOJ, by Merrick Garland and Joe Biden. It was all orchestrated. They didn't indict anybody, but they worked with downstream prosecutors. So they were leading this. So if
It's
someone,
absolutely, it's despicable. And thank you and God bless you for doing what you're doing. We love Sam and Kevin Sorbo. And I'm so grateful, Kelly, because I have you for 2 segments, right?
yes,
Because we're just getting started on this. I want to get more involved and hear more about your story, but also what people can do, where they can find you, and moving forward, how do we prevent this from happening? Who's going to be held accountable? So many questions I have for you. But first, before we get on to that, I want to tell you about our friend, and Kelly just mentioned Mike Lindell. and everyone at his company, mypillow.com. Mike is going out of his way to stand up for parents, for you, for people, especially during COVID and during the election. He was the first to be canceled, but he's on a mission. And the mission is to give you something simple, to give you bonuses, but to give you the best night's sleep ever. Go to mypillow.com and support Patriot made products. MyPillow.com, use a promo code FAITH to get sheets for as low as $25. And here's the thing. If you order a couple of dog beds, which we have about 6, if you order over $100, you're going to get $100 in free digital gifts. So go to mypillow.com, use the promo code FAITH, or guess what? I have my own phone number. You can call 1-800-933-6972. We'll be right back with Kelly Walker.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this.
We've been on the search for good quality dog products.
That's why we made our own.
So you can see Sadie's having a difficult time walking. She's got severe arthritis. Coco does too. And we discovered this a few years ago. And by the time we did, we tried a lot of different methods to help them. Obviously, I don't want to give them drugs. I want natural, wholesome food, not with chemicals and steroids and all these other things. That's really going to mask the problem. So we've been on the search for good quality pet food and pet supplements that will give Sadie and Coco and Jackson a quality of life for as long as possible. So we trust this brand, and we know you will too.
With the spirit of the wild, running free. I got the spirit of the...
Dogs are family too. And after years of searching for clean, effective supplements, we finally decided to create our own. Uncle Ted's natural canine supplements are powered by bioflavonoids that are plant-based and boost energy and help your dog stay sharp and strong and healthy. We use them daily on our pups, and they're thriving. Head to getuncleteds.com to learn more. All right, we're back with Kelly John Walker, senior writer, entrepreneur, and founder of Freedom Talk. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about the weaponization of school boards. Why do they have so much power? And a Texas case that ended in a horrible tragedy. Kelly, welcome back.
Thank you, Shemane. Yes, school boards have immense power, and it's something that's really against what our republic stands for. When you go to a school board meeting, typically they're sitting above you. And what they did, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, is if anyone disagreed with them and, pushing not only extreme COVID regulations, but then it went on to CRT, transgender theory, ideologies from the left. If you spoke out, they would call the police and use them as security guards. And so this kind of behavior was justified in their minds by that fire was fueled by Merrick Garland's October 4th memo, which chilled free speech. So these parents have literally been, their own government went to war against them. And many of them have had the courage to stand up to it and to keep going. But there have been a lot of casualties, a lot of victims of this. And, President Trump issued an executive order. Let me look at it here. I just have to find it. Executive Order 14147, ending the weaponization of the federal government. And under that, Pam Bondi issued a memo titled Restoring the Integrity and Credibility of the Department of Justice. And through that created a weaponization working group to investigate politically motivated abuses, including the targeting of parents. And they said this action is well overdue, and it's the responsibility of the federal government to make it right, in so many words. And yet we haven't heard from Pam Bondi yet. Harmeet Dillon, who I like very much, said, well, DOE needs to look at some of these specific cases first, like Chad from Pennsylvania's. But again, DOE is trying to say, well, this is a state's issue, and that might normally be the case. However, in this case, it's very, very clear. And America First Legal and Breitbart broke recently, actually, when I was on my way back to Tennessee from this July 15th press conference. They said they showed what we knew, that all of this was coordinated by the Biden White House. And
You know, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Finish the thought.
Well, I was
You know
just
what I
going to
was
say that.
just go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so what we found out in this report too was that DOJ attorneys told Merrick Garland, "You don't have a constitutional right to do this. These parents have protected free speech." He went ahead anyway and instructed staff to find a federal hook. So they were after parents. They knew they were doing wrong. They did wrong anyway. Parents have suffered the result of that, and it needs to be made right. It's a gaping wound. We can't be in a golden age in this country until we make things like this right.
You know what I was just thinking when you were talking about that, and you're trying to get to President Trump? Maybe we're going about this the wrong way. Maybe we need to get to Melania. Melania is coming out with some new information about AI and how it's affecting our kids, and rightly so. If ChatGPT can assist a child in information about how to commit suicide or why they should be held accountable. So should school boards. Let's talk about school boards. How do we hold them accountable for these actions, Kelly? It's just flat out wrong. They shouldn't have that kind of power. And about the case in Arizona and your own case, where's the accountability? Where's the retribution? And yeah, maybe Pam Bondi's not the right way to go. Maybe we need to go to Melania. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You know, she's the mother in chief. You know, she's a mom. She understands how parents feel, and when your kids are put in danger, when they're being taught things that you don't agree with, or are being told you're not going to get to go to school if you don't wear a face diaper, you know, what responsible parent would just say, "Oh, that's fine." You know, why don't they go ahead and tell Jane that she can go get an abortion and hide it from her parents, or turn into a boy and hide it from her parents. These things that are happening are egregious. I want to interject real quickly that there's a whole lot of information on this and a place to donate at realfreedomtalk.com. Just go to the Parents Demanding Justice page. You can also go to samsorbo.com and donate there, because thanks to Sam, Parents Demanding Justice Alliance is a nonprofit now. So if you make a donation, it's tax deductible. And we're using that on the ground. We're not funding an organization. It's literally like, I need to get back up to Washington, D.C. Well, last time we went, we piled the family in the minivan and went up to D.C., and it's all on our own dime. So if you feel like you'd like to contribute, that would be fantastic. But, I think Melania would be a very good route. And it's a very simple concept, Shemane. The very purpose of our government, and you and Ted know this very well because you know our founding documents, the very purpose of government is to protect the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and property of citizens. If the government itself takes those things away, they have a responsibility to restore them. It's that simple.
It's that simple. But here's what I want to ask you, Kelly. Parents are watching this now going, well, that could never happen in my town. Oh, yes, it could. Number two, what can a parent who feels as though they are helpless, they have no voice because the school board has taken over, and even locally, when the DEI stuff came out years ago, when that first came to fruition, they were putting litter boxes in cafeterias in Texas and in other states as well.
Yeah.
Because if a child, identified as a cat, I don't know. There's just so much wrong about this. And we all know what happened with COVID. We all know that the mask didn't work. We all know that there was 2 weeks to flatten the curve and that didn't work. We all know what happened, but they're throwing so many things at us. People are forgetting about what happened during COVID, and we cannot allow this. I know someone who in Texas refused, their child was born during the pandemic, and they refused to have the child vaccinated, the baby vaccinated at the hospital. Do you know CPS went in and took the baby for 4 days? Where's the retribution for that? That's criminal. And
we've seen that too. CPS being weaponized against parents. because
Yep.
the government thinks, and many of the school districts and the school unions, Randy Weingarten, they believe that that the state owns your children and that they know better than you do. And I have to say, Shemane, not only could this happen to you and your school district parents, it very likely already is, and you probably don't even know about it. And you look at some conservative areas, the left funds sending people into those areas to infiltrate because they don't like the fact that there are conservative strongholds. So it's already happening. I live in a very conservative community. It's happening here. And I could read you a list as long as my arm of people this is still happening to recently. Jeremy Klepper down in Florida, dragged out of a board meeting by police last month for exercising free speech. Dr. Crystal Monroe in Florida, besides all the other persecution she endured before, her son was recently called a Nazi file. And Dan Grossenbach from Arizona, a professor at ASU, recently fired for going to his own child's school board meeting and speaking out. On and on it goes. And it's not only the school boards using the police as security guards, the school boards persecuting these people, driving some to suicide even. Then they get all of these leftist lunatics doxing them, harassing them, going online and calling them Nazis and all the rest. It's still going on.
It's unbelievable. Kelly, I want to thank you so much for speaking out. You and Sam, we love Sam and Kevin. We want you to come back with some better news in the future. But in the meantime, how can people find you and support you and Sam and what you're doing?
Yeah, Sam's great. And I'll tell you, doing this for the parents is a real win for the Trump administration. So many people have said it's a real no-brainer. But just go to realfreedomtalk.com, and particularly the Parents Demanding Justice page. You're going to see a whole lot of information, starting with that video. It's just a 2-minute video that outlines the problem. You're going to find documents, a history of things, shows. Sam and I did a great segment on American thought leaders with Yanya Kellick. You can also go to samsorbo.com, and I urge you to support Sorbo Studios. And both sites have a donation portal for Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. So thanks so much for all your support, Shemane, and I hope to have some good news soon too.
Yeah, we got to change this, and it takes people like you and Sam and Kevin to speak up. And Mike Lindell, you mentioned Mike, he's a sponsor of this show. So we Patriots not only got to stick together, we got to support and uplift one another. So thank you for doing what you're doing again, Kelly, and please come back soon.
Mike. I work for Mike, and he is very concerned about this issue as well. So great guy.
All right, God bless you. Thank you so much, Kelly. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this.
Okay, we are out for our daily walk.
Celebrating the great spirit of the wild outdoors.
A lot of people realize that we are hunters. We love to hunt, and we love to
Venison.
have pure, lean venison. We're not always successful. So what do we do, Ted?
Switch to America with shemane beef.
We're going to actually go home and have a ribeye right now. We pulled it out to thaw, and I'm super excited because we've both been out hunting. It's tough. It's not like you can go, okay, God, cue the deer.
I think I got 29 days in a row that the deer have avoided me. I don't know why that is, but we have switched to America with shemane beef to compensate for the days that the deer don't show up. Get the best, healthiest, natural beef in the world. I swear we believe in this stuff, and what goes into the sacred temple determines your quality of life and health. And quality beef, like Switch to America with shemane beef, is the best you can eat.
Now, Jackson's way up there. We got to go catch him.
It's true. Beef prices are out of control, and who knows what's in them? You don't have to compromise quality. At Switch to America with shemane.com, you can lock in clean, grass-fed beef straight from the source. Join just for $1 and get $52 off. And now, along with our juicy steaks and never ever label meat, no mRNA, no terrible products. It's all clean. You can get protein jerky. We've got beef jerky, protein sticks. It's perfect for back to school, no sugar, no nitrates, and packed with flavor. So vote with your dollars, support American farmers, join the mission at Switch to America with shemane.com. My next guest knows a little bit about hunting and knows that the deer don't just walk in front of you broadside at 20 yards and say, okay, here I am. My next guest is a conservative who doesn't back down. He's a faith-led fighter who's walked the halls of power, and now he may be headed to Congress. With Chip Roy rumored to be running for Texas Attorney General, Pastor Weston Martinez is being urged to step in. Pastor Weston Martinez, welcome.
Hey, Shemane, good to see you, and hope you guys are having a great day today. I'm thankful for everything you and Ted do and the team that helps put this on. So, yeah, we in Texas, we know that hamburger doesn't come from the grocery store and that deer don't just jump in front of cars because they want to.
We can see a little white-tailed deer head off to your left, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a few of them. What?
Yeah.
Look at you. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've got a Democrat in the corner as well. There's a rattlesnake over there.
Oof. Okay, so you served under Rick Perry, our friend, Governor Rick Perry. What's pulling you into this battlefield now? Because a lot of people say, you know, when you get into politics, you're fighting with the devil, Weston.
Well, and it is all spiritual warfare, right? I mean, our founding fathers, you know, they knew when they were coming to this country that it was spiritual warfare. And, you know, that's why the First Amendment, quite honestly, is the freedom of speech. You know, it's for our ability to speak truth to power. It's for our ability to actually pray out loud, right? To speak against the wickedness and evilness in this world, no matter what shape and form it comes into. So, you know, God has blessed me to be on the right side of those fights. And, you know, it is about widows and orphans. And once you realize, you know, that if you take care of the widow and orphan, the CEO will be taken care of as well. And, you know, Trump has really breathed a breath of excitement and fresh air into the political scene and really gotten the faith community, quite honestly, to take up their mantle and get involved like they should. You know, as Christians, you know, the devil would tell us that you're not supposed to be involved. But quite honestly, if you read the Bible, you know, look at all the characters, flawed or not, but they all were involved in speaking truth to power and recognizing that, you know, that there is one true God and that is who, you know, government sits on the shoulders of God, not the other way around. So it very much is something that, you know, God is here. And God has been faithful to this country. And so we're excited to just watch what God's doing. So, you know, regardless of what we're talking about, securing the border, election fraud, fixing election fraud, you know, finishing these things that are going on with human trafficking. There's all kinds of things that we need good Christians to be involved at, from the school board all the way up to the presidency. We need people that are in office that recognize that there's a God and it's not them, quite honestly.
I've known you for a few years now. You and I and Steve Hemphill and Ben Graham had been doing some virtual staking when President Trump first got indicted. And we've seen you at a number of events in Waco, Texas. You don't have to be outspoken, Weston. Why don't you just go preach a sermon and call it a day?
Well, you know, the church is actually not inside of the four walls. And I think that that the enemy has done a good job at putting Christians in a box. And, you know, I think that we have an obligation, we have a duty, you know, to make disciples. And that really requires us to be a good Christian and speak our faith in the courthouse, in the business house, and all of those things. And so that's one of the things that we have to do. You know, we're not here to hide it under a bush. We're here to let it out. And, you know, honestly, it is difficult to stand up, but it's also easy. It's the hardest, easiest thing you have to do. I think Paul probably had an understanding of that. So, you know, we need some more people that are willing to go out and just speak the truth. And you can do it in love, and you can do it without relenting. I mean, the left has no problem talking about all of their wild ideologies and all of their things. You know, some states are supporting abortion all the way, you know, to beyond birth. And we've got all kinds of things that are wrong. So if evil is willing to stand up for itself, then Christians, we need to stand up for ourselves. And President Trump is going to be gone in 2 years. So we better do what we can now to build a platform, to build infrastructure that will be that living legacy that lives on. And that's why I'm thankful for people like you, your husband, and the patriots that watch your show, that don't just open wide and swallow what the media is telling them, but actually learn how to critically think, critically hunt, and learn how to hunt for themselves.
Metaphorically and physically also, because it's important that, no one's coming to save you. We have President Trump in office, and things are happening fast, at an unbelievable pace. Let's hope that we keep it up. However, we just had a guest on, Kelly Walker, who is working with Sam Sorbo to help kids. They're targeting parents at school board meetings and arresting them. And one parent here in Texas, I don't know if you know about him in Temple, he was targeted and arrested, and he ended up taking his life because of it. Where's the accountability? And if you heard about this, Weston, and you're in office, what are you going to do?
Well, anybody that is going to serve, ask them what they've done before now. Ask them what enemies they have. And before today, I was the person that stepped up to help another Texan, Jeremy Story, who was arrested by 8 armed officers at his home 30 days after he spoke at a school board meeting. And all he did was speak about a subject that was not even on, that was not part of that specific agenda item. And they sent a full force to come get him, and even told his son, if you do not get your dad out here, we're going to arrest you for aiding and abetting. So so government is out of control. And all we have to do is look at this poor gentleman that took his life, look at this other gentleman that I mentioned a second ago, and realize that there are those people that are doing what's right and standing up, but they have to have people like us that are willing to be that warrior to go into the battle to say, no, this is wrong, and you're going to fix this. And whoever we've got to stand up against, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we need to stand up and let God be God, and let people have an opportunity to do the right thing. And if they won't take the opportunity, then we do what we need to do to make them do it. Here in San Antonio, a long time ago, we had a liberal mayor that tried to put the first bathroom bill into play in Texas to allow men into women's bathrooms. And I wasn't holding any political position, but I knew that I could start a political recall against that individual. And so we did. And so, we stood up and we unified the church. And while they were successful temporarily, long-term, it unified the bodies. There were some other victories that we have. So I think the people of the church coming out and recognizing that we are the ones that have the greater numbers, that is how we go in there and do that. In Texas, you can't even, this is something that your listeners might be interested in knowing. In Texas, you can't even recall a school board member. So think about that.
Seriously?
Yeah. So think about that.
Makes me want to run for school board. I tell you what.
Right.
They do. Yeah, they have too much power. It's unbelievable, but we need Christians everywhere. We need them in the school board level. We need them on the state level. We need them on the federal level. I understand that you're going to stick around for yet another segment, right? Is that right?
Yes. Always.
Okay, because I want to get a little bit more into spiritual warfare and what's really going on right now. And you're the guy I need to talk to. So first, before we go though, tell us where people can find you online.
Every social media outlet is at Weston Martinez, and that's even on Truth Social. So look forward to following me on all those different platforms, and especially share this show, because Shemane's show is fantastic and they have a lot of very good guests. I'm thankful to be one of the included people.
Well, thank you so much. And we're gonna get more, like I said, more into discussions about spiritual warfare in just a second. So don't go away, everybody. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. God bless you, but don't go away. We've got much more to come.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. We're not just in a political battle. This is a spiritual war, and this is what we mean by it. And my next guest knows all about that. And it takes people like him, like Pastor Weston Martinez, to really spread the light, to share the light on what's going on. He was one of the leaders who joined us last year for virtual staking, like I mentioned. And it's a spiritual prayer, it's a shield, and giving us the authority to protect. At the time, we were protecting President Trump at a critical moment. And guess what? It worked. I think it did.
Mhm.
He wasn't indicted. Is that a coincidence? I don't
Right.
think so. Pastor Weston Martinez, welcome back.
Thank you, Shemane. I appreciate having me. And yes, that was a great time, just praying and carrying out our God-given duty.
Yep. You've said before many times this nation, and many of us believe, this nation is under spiritual attack. And that staking moment last year, it wasn't just symbolic. What really happened, do you think, that night? For those who haven't seen it, what was the process of the virtual staking, and why do you think it was necessary?
So I think what was really taking place is that the army of God was getting locked and loaded and marching together. You know, when we look at different historical facts in the Bible, which has more historical factual documentation than proof that Aristotle walked the face of the earth, for all you scientists out there, since it's just about the science. But if you look at that, you know, when the body of Christ unites, just like when they marched around the walls of Jericho, just like when they, I told my wife the other day, I said, sometimes people just got to be willing to stick their foot in the river. You know, we don't have to worry about splitting the water, drying the ground, getting the fish out of the way. We don't have to worry about that. We just have to worry about stepping into action. And then God shows up and does what he needs to do, because he's a sovereign God. And I think that people, God has been wanting to get the attention and the hearts of the people, to let them know, hey, there's a way out. You know, you don't have to go into eternal damnation in hell and be separated from God. You know, you can have a full life with me, an exciting life with me, a victorious life with me. And there's this deception somehow that Christians are supposed to be meek and mild, and it's okay to be humble. But you don't have to be, coward in the corner. And so I think that's what happens when we got together and we prayed. Just to recap it, there's the spiritual act of the prophetic act of putting blood over the doorposts that everybody knows about in the Bible, and the angel of death passed by. And so staking the ground is essentially that rededication of that geography into the kingdom of God, because we as Christians have relented. We've given up ground in many places. We can just look at the media or our school system as places where we gave up ground, where we listened to the enemy that said, oh no, you shouldn't get mad about, this scene or act being put together for everybody to view. You shouldn't be mad about this curriculum. Like, you're just being bitter. You're just being an individual that's
turn a blind eye to DEI.
Yeah, talk about DEI said, it really means just, dying in place. So it's wrong. So that's what I think spiritually, that's what happened. We united, and we represent, more than just us. And Christians need to know that you and God make a majority, and it only takes one person to lead the people into where they needed to be. So I think that's what happened. I think God was on full display, letting everybody know, look, this is my house. This is my world. This is, I will bless those that will allow me to bless them and that want to follow my call. And those that think that they're somehow in charge, they're not.
Why do you think that so many pastors don't talk about this? I've been going to church all my life, and I've never heard, when I was growing up, never heard about this spiritual warfare.
So on one hand, a lot of pastors are afraid of it because they don't embrace it. There are a lot of pastors that should not be pastors. They should quit their job and go start selling used cars, or something else, something that would use more of their skills, because they're really not following God. And I think that's one of the reasons why God put the scripture in there. You'll be doubly blessed and doubly cursed, because you have an obligation to prepare the meal for the flock. You have the obligation to spend time with God and understand just what God's heart is at the moment, so that you can prepare and deliver that message to the flock. And so that's a big reason why a lot of people don't teach about this. And I tell people that say, "Oh, well, that died." Well, wait a minute. Just go Genesis to Revelation and tell me where God, not you, tell me where God said that doesn't happen anymore. So it's very easy to break people, to get them to understand. But then you determine, okay, you just want to preach cotton candy because you just want to make sure that your church is full and that you've got a bump in salary every 3 years and nobody's going to get mad at you. So yeah, it's
the pastor's obligation, I think, to protect the flock. And one of the ways that I have learned, there's so many different ways to have your armor on. I'd love to get your take on this. In 1 Thessalonians 5, I think 22, it says, "Be grateful in all things." Like, how do you do that in the eye of the storm? And when you're enduring difficult things, it's hard. But it says, "in all things," right?
Right. And that's where, I tell people, look, God wasn't happy that something bad happened to you. God isn't, that's not what God didn't, something like that. God will make up for it. And that might be on the other side of heaven, but God wants to, have a good, wholesome relationship with you. And God wants you to have a victorious life. So many people, they can quote the scripture, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death."
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It didn't say build a house and stay there. And why do you have to walk? Elijah ran faster than the chariot. So get up and go. Christians need to realize.
Go ahead. Finish that. Go ahead. Sorry.
The Christians need to realize this is not a spectator sport. This is smash mouth football.
No.
Get in there and go take the enemy's camp and repossess the land that was stolen from you. I told somebody the other day, if you realized that somebody stole from you, stole from your grandma, and was trying to steal from your great-grandchild and your great-great-great-grandchild, what would you do to defend them and fight for their future? That is what is at stake right now. The generational curses that are there because we have not fought the fights to break those generational curses. And that's what we have to do, set people free and break those generational curses.
Amen. I knew that I was learning how to bow hunt, to shoot my own arrows at the enemy, because the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And people think, "Oh, I'm a nice person, nothing's going to happen to me." We talked about school board, and them coming after parents. This is a spiritual battle. I got about a minute, but what are your last thoughts on that?
If you don't take action, the devil is going to. If you don't take action, the devil is going to. So you have an obligation to go repossess the land. Here's the secret, guys. We already won. So you don't have to act like you might win. We've already won. Go operate from a position of authority. And I tell people, pray like you're running downhill. Pray going downhill, not woulda, coulda, shoulda, going uphill. So take that position and don't give it up.
I love that. Pastor Weston Martinez, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Shemane. God bless you.
God bless you. Send me your funny pet videos at shemane.chat@gmail.com. And, before we go, I want to share some of my favorite things with you, because I get questions. People ask me, "What do you use for this?" And you heard about getuncleteds.com. Go to getuncleteds.com to get natural pet vitamins and supplements that your dog needs. But also, I want to tell you about something that's really near and dear to my heart. You guys probably know I got sick and almost died from toxic mold, and I became chemically sensitive. And it's been a lifetime of me, over 20 years that I've been searching real natural products. That includes what you put on your skin. It's really important. So I want to lead you to something that has really made a difference in my skincare. I actually use these products every day, and I love them. It's called Row Casa Organics. Everything they make is clean, natural, and non-toxic. I use their face serum, their muscle balm, even their sleep support, which includes magnesium, and you put it on your feet. Ted even does too. We put them on our feet every night. Put the magnesium cream on our feet. It really works. Check it out. Honestly, rocassidorganics.com/shemane. Use the promo code FAITH for a discount. And then there's LifeWave stem cell patches. They activate your body's own natural healing. No drugs, no stimulants. It's a game changer. Go to lifewave.com/shemane or email shemane.lifewave@gmail.com. And if you haven't read my books, check them out, Abundantly Well and Killer House. That's where I share my personal stories of how I went from near death to healing through faith and through natural products. And they're both available on Amazon right now. Don't forget Esther 4:14. You were born for such a time as this. Thank you all so much. I'll see you next week. God bless.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this.